Let me tell you something that's going to piss off a lot of people watching this video right now. You've been lied to. Everything you think you know about attraction, wrong. Every pickup line you memorized, useless. Every dating coach who told you to just be confident and smile more. They took your money and gave you nothing. I'm about to share 5 psychological triggers that make women obsess over you. Not like you, not find you attractive. I'm talking about full obsession mode, where she's the one chasing. She's the one texting first. She's the one asking when she can see you again. And here's the crazy part. These principles come from dark psychology. It's the same psychology that Nietzsche wrote about over 100 years ago. The same principles that powerful men have used throughout history, but nobody talks about because it makes people uncomfortable. I'm darkside_manipulator, and if you're still here, you're ready to hear the truth. Before we start, understand this. I'm not here to make friends, okay? I'm not here to give you feel-good advice that sounds nice but doesn't work, okay? I'm here to give you reality, okay? And reality is harsh. Reality doesn't care about your feelings. So if you want the Disney version of dating advice, leave now. Go watch someone else. But if you want the truth that actually works, stay with me for the next 20 minutes. Let me set the stage with a story. 2 years ago, I was broke, living in a small apartment, working a job I hated, and my dating life, man, it was a disaster. I would text girls paragraphs. I would plan elaborate dates. I would do everything right according to what society tells you, and I got nothing. Girls would ghost me. They would cancel last minute. They would friendzone me while dating guys who treated them like garbage. I couldn't understand it. I was nice, okay? I was respectful. I did everything the right way. Then I read Nietzsche, and everything changed. Nietzsche said something that shook me to my core. He said, the weak seek to control through morality, but the strong create their own values. Think about that. Every time someone tells you how you should act with women, they're trying to control you with morality. Be nice, be respectful. Wait 3 days to text back. Don't play games. All of that is designed to keep you weak. So I stopped following the rules. I stopped being what society told me to be. And I started applying dark psychology principles to my dating life. Within 6 months, everything flipped. Girls started chasing me. My phone was blowing up. I had options for the first time in my life. And the crazy part, I was doing less work than before. That's what we're going to break down today. The first principle is something I call strategic indifference. Now, you've probably heard people say, don't care what others think. But that's not what I'm talking about. Strategic indifference is different. It's deeper. It's more calculated. Kecha talked about the concept of the Brahmanch, the superior man who rises above the herd. The man who creates his own meaning instead of accepting what others give him. This is the foundation of strategic indifference. Here's what most guys do. They meet a girl they like, and immediately that girl becomes the center of their universe. Every decision revolves around her. When should I text? What should I say? How do I make her like me? Her entire emotional state depends on her response. This is weak, okay? And women can smell weakness from a mile away. Strategic indifference means you have something bigger going on in your life. Something so important that whether she responds or not doesn't shake you. You're not pretending not to care. You genuinely have priorities that matter more. Let me break down how this works psychologically. When you're overly invested in a woman, you give her all the power. She knows that you need her validation. She knows that you're sitting there waiting for her text. She knows that you'll rearrange your schedule for her. And what happens? She loses respect for you. But when you're genuinely focused on something else, when you take 6 hours to respond because you are actually busy, when you tell her you can't meet Thursday because you have other plans, something shifts. She starts questioning herself. Okay, why isn't he chasing me like other guys? What's he doing that's so important? Does he even like me? Okay, and now the power dynamic has flipped. Here's how you apply this starting today. Okay, first, you need to actually build a life worth living. This isn't optional, okay? You can't fake strategic indifference. If you're sitting at home playing video games all day, waiting for her text, she'll know. Women have incredible intuition for this stuff. Get obsessed with something. Your business, your fitness, your art, your mission. I don't care what it is, but it needs to be real. It needs to consume your time and energy. For me, it's this channel. It's helping guys break free from the mental prison that society puts them in. When I'm working on content, researching psychology, writing scripts, I genuinely forget to check my phone. That's real strategic indifference. Second, set boundaries and stick to them. If you tell her you can't talk because you're busy, actually be busy. Don't cave the moment she pushes back. Keisha said, the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. The same applies here. When you set a boundary and hold it, you're demonstrating strength. You're showing her that you have standards, that your time has value, okay? That she needs to earn your attention. Third, never, and I mean never, make her the center of your emotional world. She should enhance your life, not complete it. You were whole before you met her. God, you'll be whole if she leaves, okay? This mindset shift alone will transform how you show up in interactions. Think about it like this. Would a king chase after one peasant's approval? No, he has a kingdom to run, some important decisions to make. If the peasant wants his attention, they come to him. You are the king of your life. Act like it. Strategic indifference is just the first layer, but it sets the foundation for everything else we're about to cover. The next principle is going to blow your mind because it goes against everything you've been taught about attraction. It's about power, specifically how to position yourself as the prize without saying a single word about it. But before we get there, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. We're going to go deep into dark psychology, human nature, and the uncomfortable truths about attraction that nobody else will tell you. Alright, welcome back. If you just joined, we're breaking down the 5 psychological triggers that make women obsessed. We covered strategic indifference. Now, we're moving into something more dangerous. Principle number 2 is perceived scarcity. And this is where most guys completely mess up without even realizing it. Nietzsche had this idea about value. Said that which is common becomes cheap. The rare becomes valuable. Think about that in terms of your attention, your time, your presence. When you're always available, you become common. When you're scarce, you become valuable. But here's the thing. Most guys try to fake scarcity, okay? They play stupid games like waiting exactly 30 minutes to respond to every text. They pretend to be busy when they're not. They try to manufacture mystery. Women see right through this garbage. Real scarcity comes from actually having a life that demands your time. It comes from having options. It comes from being someone that other people want access to. Let me tell you what changed for me. When I started building my business, I wasn't trying to be scarce with women. I was genuinely unavailable. I had client calls. I had content to create. I had money to make. My time actually became limited, and something interesting happened. The girls who used to barely respond started double texting. They started asking when I was free. They started working around my schedule instead of expecting me to work around theirs. I didn't change my personality. I didn't learn some magic technique. I just became genuinely scarce because I had bigger priorities. Here's why this works on a deep psychological level. Humans want what they can't have. This isn't new information. But most people don't understand the mechanism behind it. When something is easily accessible, our brain assigns it low value. When something is difficult to access, our brain assumes it must be valuable because other people want it to. This is called social proof, combined with scarcity. It's the same reason luxury brands limit production. It's the same reason exclusive clubs have velvet ropes. It's the same reason people camp outside stores for limited edition shoes. Scarcity creates desire. Now, apply this to yourself. When you're always free, always available, always ready to drop everything for her. What message does that send? It tells her you have no other options. It tells her nobody else wants your time. It tells her you're sitting around waiting for her to give you attention. Weak. But when you're selective with your time, when you have to check your calendar before committing to plans, when she has to book time with you in advance. Now she's thinking, maybe this guy has something going on. Maybe other women want him to. Maybe I need to step up my game to keep his attention. Nietzsche talked about the will to power. The fundamental drive in humans to assert themselves, to dominate, to become more than they are. When you make yourself scarce, you're not playing games. You're expressing your will to power. You're saying, my time is valuable because I'm building something. I'm going somewhere. I'm becoming something greater. And that energy, women are attracted to it like moths to flame. The opposite of scarcity is neediness, and neediness is the death of attraction. Think about the guy who texts good morning every single day, who always asks, what are you doing? Who's always available to talk, who has no plans except waiting for her. That guy gets zero respect, zero attraction, zero results, because he's demonstrating that he has nothing else going on. He's showing that she's his only option. He's proving that he's at the bottom of the social hierarchy. Women don't want the bottom. They want the top. Basic biology, basic psychology. So how do you create real scarcity in your life? Step 1. Build something that matters to you. I keep coming back to this because it's that important. You need a mission, a purpose, a goal that's bigger than getting laid. For some guys, it's business. For others, it's fitness. Some guys are building artistic careers. Some are pursuing education. I don't care what it is, as long as it's real. You have a genuine mission. Scarcity happens naturally. You're not faking being busy. You actually are busy. Step 2. Protect your time like it's money. 'Cause it is. Time is the only resource you can never get back. When you treat your time as valuable, others start treating it as valuable too. This means saying no. If she wants to hang out Tuesday, but you have work to do, you say no. You don't apologize. You don't over-explain. You just say, I'm busy Tuesday. How about Friday? Simple, direct, scarce. Step 3. Have options. And I don't mean you need to be dating 10 women at once, but you should be meeting new people, okay? Building your social circle, creating opportunities. When you have options, you stop putting any single woman on a pedestal. You stop acting desperate. You stop compromising your standards because you're afraid of losing her. Nietzsche said, the lonely one offers his hand too quickly to whomever he encounters. Don't be the lonely one. Here's the dark truth nobody wants to admit. Women are more attracted to men that other women want. It's called pre-selection. When a woman sees that you have options, that other women are interested in you, her attraction multiplies. This is why guys in relationships get more attention than single guys. This is why wedding rings attract women. Okay? This is why being seen with attractive women makes more attractive women interested. It's not fair, it's not nice, but it's reality. And you can use this to your advantage. When you're genuinely scarce, when you're building something real, when you have options, you naturally trigger this pre-selection response. She starts to wonder who else is competing for your time. She starts to feel like she needs to win you over. The entire dynamic flips. You're no longer the one hoping she likes you. She's the one hoping she's good enough for you. That's the power of perceived scarcity. Now, strategic indifference and perceived scarcity work together. They create a foundation of high value in her mind. But the next principle, this is where things get really interesting. Principle 3 is about emotional manipulation, not in an evil way, but in understanding how emotions work and how to create the right emotional states in women. This next part is going to make some people uncomfortable, but discomfort means we're getting to the truth. Stay with me, or just getting started. Principle number 3, emotional contrast. Okay, this is where we go deeper then most people are willing to go. This is where dark psychology meets real attraction. And this is where you separate yourself from every other guy she's ever met. Keisha understood something fundamental about human nature. Keisha said that man's feelings are always purest and most glowing in times of conflict and contradiction. What does that mean for attraction? It means that flat emotional experiences create no attraction. Consistency creates comfort, not desire. If you're always the same, always predictable, always stable, you become boring. Women don't fantasize about boring. Now, before you misunderstand me, I'm not saying be crazy. I'm not saying be unstable. I'm not saying play mind games where you're hot and cold for no reason. What I'm saying is that attraction requires emotional range. It requires contrast. It requires moments of intensity followed by moments of distance, highs and lows, push and pull. Let me explain how this works in the real world. Think about the most addictive experiences in your life. Video games, social media, gambling. What do they all have in common? Variable rewards, unpredictability. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Sometimes you get what you want, sometimes you don't. This unpredictability creates addiction. Your brain releases more dopamine from uncertain rewards than from guaranteed ones. This is basic neuroscience. The same mechanism applies to attraction. When you're always nice, always agreeable, always giving her attention, there's no uncertainty. She knows exactly what she's getting. Her brain stops releasing dopamine. You become predictable, and predictable is the enemy of attraction. But when you create contrast, then sometimes you're warm and engaged, and other times you're distant and focused on your mission. When you can be playful one moment and serious the next. Now her brain stays engaged. She can't predict you. Now she's wondering what version of you she's going to get. And that uncertainty keeps her hooked. Keisha talked about the Apollonian and Dionysian forces. The balance between order and chaos, logic and emotion, structure and wildness. Most men exist on only one side of this spectrum. They're either too logical and boring, or too emotional and unstable. Neither creates lasting attraction. The powerful man embodies both. He can be disciplined and focused on his work, then completely present and playful with her. He can be serious about his goals, then spontaneous with his actions. He contains contradictions, and contradictions are interesting. Contradictions create depth. Contradictions make her want to figure you out. I'll give you an example from my own life. There are times when I'm completely focused on work. I might not text her for hours. I'm in the zone, building something, creating content. I'm unavailable, and she knows it. Then, when I do give her attention, it's complete attention. I'm not distracted. I'm not on my phone. I'm fully present. We're laughing, connecting, having deep conversations. This creates contrast. The distance makes the closeness more valuable. The scarcity of my attention makes it more meaningful when she gets it. Here's how you implement emotional contrast without being manipulative or fake. First, actually have a life with different dimensions. You can't create contrast if you're one-dimensional. You need to be more than just the guy who's into her. Have your work mode, where you're focused and unavailable. Have your social mode, where you're fun and engaging. Have your introspective mode, where you're deep and thoughtful. Have your playful mode, where you're spontaneous and carefree. These aren't masks. These are real parts of who you are. You're just being intentional about expressing different sides at different times. Second, don't be afraid to challenge her. Most guys agree with everything a woman says because they're scared of conflict, but disagreement creates emotional intensity. When she says something you don't agree with, say so. Not in a disrespectful way, but in a strong, confident way. I see it differently. Here's why. This creates tension. And tension is the precursor to attraction. Nietzsche said, you need chaos in your soul to give birth to a dancing star. Create some chaos. Disagree, challenge, push back. Don't be agreeable all the time. Third, vary your communication patterns. Don't text her at the same time every day. Don't always respond immediately. Sometimes be quick. Sometimes take hours. Sometimes send long messages. Sometimes just a few words. This isn't game playing. This is reflecting your actual life. Some days you're busy. Some days you have more time. Let your communication reflect reality, not some calculated strategy. Here's what's really happening beneath the surface when you create emotional contrast. You're becoming unpredictable, and unpredictability signals higher value. Why? Because people who have options don't need to be consistent with any one person. They have other things going on. When you're always available, always responsive, always the same, you signal that you have nothing else demanding your attention. You signal that she's your only option. But when you're sometimes available and sometimes not, sometimes warm and sometimes focused elsewhere, you signal abundance, you signal options, you signal high value. And her subconscious picks up on these signals even if she doesn't consciously realize it. This is also why the bad boy archetype works. Not because women like guys who treat them poorly, but because bad boys naturally create emotional contrast, but they're unpredictable. They have their own agenda. They don't seek approval. You can create the same effect without being a jerk. You just need to understand the psychology. Now, let me be clear about something. There's a difference between healthy emotional contrast and being emotionally abusive. Healthy contrast means you have different moods and priorities based on what's actually happening in your life. You're busy sometimes, you're available sometimes, you're serious sometimes, you're playful sometimes. It's unhealthy means you're deliberately withholding affection to hurt her. You're being cold to punish her. You're creating anxiety on purpose just to control her. One comes from having a full life. The other comes from insecurity and the need to control. Nietzsche said, "Beware that in fighting monsters, you yourself do not become a monster." Use these principles to enhance attraction, not to harm people. The goal is mutual desire. The goal is creating a dynamic where both people are genuinely attracted and engaged. It's not creating trauma bonds or toxic relationships. We're at principle number 4, and this is where everything we've talked about comes together. Principle 4 is dominant frame control. Okay, now, when I say dominant, I don't mean aggressive. I don't mean controlling. I don't mean telling her what to do or disrespecting her boundaries. What I mean is that you set the frame for how interactions go. You lead, you decide. You establish the reality, and she either joins your reality or she doesn't. Nietzsche wrote extensively about perspectivism, the idea that there is no objective truth, only interpretations. Every person sees the world through their own frame, their own perspective. In every interaction between two people, there's a battle of frames. Whose perspective wins? Its reality becomes the accepted reality. Weak men enter a woman's frame. They accept her perspective. They live in her reality. They follow her lead. Strong men maintain their own frame. They have their own perspective. They create their own reality, and they invite her to join it. Let me make this concrete with an example. A woman texts you at 9 p.m. "Hey, what are you doing?" Most guys immediately enter her frame. "Oh, nothing much, just watching TV. What about you?" This response accepts her premise that you should be available and interested in whatever she wants to talk about. A man with strong frame control responds differently. He might say, "Working on something important. What's up?" Or he might not respond at all if he's genuinely busy. It maintains his frame that his time is valuable and he's focused on his mission. Here's another example. She suggests you take her to an expensive restaurant for a first date. Weak frame. "Sure. Where do you want to go?" "I'll make a reservation." Strong frame. "Don't do dinner for first dates. Let's grab coffee Tuesday at 3. I know a good spot." See the difference? One accepts her frame of what a date should be. The other establishes his own frame and invites her to join it. Frame control isn't about being difficult. It's about having standards and sticking to them. Women are attracted to leadership, not because they're weak or inferior, but because leadership signals competence, confidence, and the ability to navigate the world successfully. When you maintain your frame, you demonstrate leadership. You show that you know what you want. E. Show that you're not easily swayed. E. Show that you have conviction. Nietzsche said, "The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly." When you maintain strong frame, some women won't understand it. Some will push back. Some will call you arrogant or difficult. Those women aren't for you. Let them go. Go. The women who are high quality, who are secure, who are actually worth your time, they'll respect your frame. They'll appreciate that you have standards. They'll be attracted to your leadership. I learned this lesson the hard way. For years, I would bend and accommodate. A girl wanted to change plans last minute. Sure, no problem. She wanted me to prove myself. Okay, let me jump through hoops. She tested my boundaries. I'd let it slide to keep the peace. And you know what happened? Zero respect, zero attraction, zero results. The moment I started maintaining my frame, everything changed. I stopped accepting disrespect. I stopped accommodating unreasonable requests. I stopped entering other people's realities, and the quality of women in my life improved dramatically. Here's how you develop and maintain strong frame control in your interactions. First, know your values and standards before you enter any interaction. What are you willing to accept? What are you not willing to accept? What kind of behavior do you expect from people in your life? Write this down if you need to. Get clear on your standards, because if you don't know what you stand for, you'll fall for anything. For me, I don't tolerate flackiness. I don't tolerate disrespect. I don't tolerate game playing. These are my standards. When someone violates them, I don't get angry. I don't argue. I just remove myself from the situation. That's strong frame control. Second, lead interactions instead of following. When you're planning to meet up, you suggest the time and place. You don't ask, where does she want to go and when is she free? You say, I'm free Thursday at 7. Let's meet at this place. She can say yes or suggest an alternative, but you're setting the initial frame. When you're having a conversation, you drive the topics. You ask the questions you want answers to. Please share what you want to share. You're not just reacting to whatever she brings up. This doesn't mean you dominate conversations. This means you're an active participant, not a passive reactor. Third, don't defend your frame. This is crucial. When you maintain strong frame and someone challenges it, your instinct might be to explain yourself, to justify, to defend. Don't. The moment you defend your frame, you've entered their frame. You've accepted that their perspective is valid and yours needs defending. Instead, simply restate your position or let your actions speak. If she asks why you don't text back faster, you don't explain that you're busy with important work. You just say, I respond when I can. Simple, direct, no defense needed. Teacher talked about master morality versus slave morality. Master morality creates its own values. Slave morality accepts values given by others. When you maintain your frame, you're practicing master morality. You're saying, this is what I value. This is how I operate. This is my reality. When you enter someone else's frame, you're practicing slave morality. You're accepting their values, their rules, their reality. Which one do you think women find attractive? The man who creates his own path, or the man who follows others? The man who knows what he wants, or the man who asks for permission? The man who leads, or the man who follows? It's obvious when you think about it clearly. Frame control ties everything together. Strategic indifference, perceived scarcity, emotional contrast. They all require a strong frame to work properly. But there's one more principle. It's the fifth and final trigger that makes women obsessed. And this one is the most controversial. It's the most misunderstood. The one that will get me the most hate in the comments. but it's also the most powerful. Principle 5 is about standards and selectivity. It's about understanding that not every woman deserves access to you. It's about being willing to walk away from anyone who doesn't meet your requirements. And it's about having requirements in the first place. Most men have no standards. They'll accept any woman who gives them attention, any woman who shows interest. They're grateful just to be chosen. That's exactly why they don't get chosen. In this final segment, I'm going to show you how to flip this dynamic completely. How to become the selector instead of the selected. How to make women qualify themselves to you instead of you qualifying yourself to them. This is where boys become men, where followers become leaders, where scarcity mindset becomes abundance. Let's finish strong.
Principle number 5. Standards and selectivity. This is the principle that separates men who get results from men who get used. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most men have zero standards when it comes to women. If she's attractive and shows even a little bit of interest, they're in. They'll overlook red flags. They'll ignore bad behavior. They'll accept disrespect just to keep her around. And women can sense this instantly. When you have no standards, you communicate that you have no options. You communicate that you're desperate. You communicate that you'll accept whatever scraps she throws your way. Nietzsche said the demand to be loved is the greatest of presumptions. Think about what that means. When you chase women, when you try to convince them to like you, when you have no requirements for how they treat you, you're demanding to be loved while offering nothing worth loving. The powerful man flips this completely. He has strict standards. He evaluates women the same way they evaluate him. He's willing to walk away from anyone who doesn't meet his requirements. And paradoxically, this is what makes women chase him. Let me tell you what changed my entire dating life. I stopped seeing women as prizes to be won. I started seeing them as potential partners who need to prove their worth, my time. I know how that sounds. Arrogant, entitled, maybe even disrespectful. But here's the thing. Women do this naturally. They evaluate men constantly. Are you tall enough? Successful enough? Confident enough? Interesting enough? They have standards, and they're not apologetic about it. So why should you be? The moment I developed real standards, everything shifted. I stopped chasing. I stopped trying to impress. I stopped accepting behavior I didn't like. And the quality of women in my life improved 10 times over. Here's what real standards look like. I don't date women who play games. If she's testing me, trying to make me jealous, or being intentionally difficult, I'm out. No second chances. I don't date women who are rude to service workers. How you treat people who can't benefit you shows your real character. If she's mean to the waiter, she's not for me. I don't date women who have no ambition. I'm building something significant with my life. I need someone who's also building, also growing, also improving. If she's content with mediocrity, we're not compatible. These aren't impossible standards. They're basic requirements for the kind of partner I want in my life. Here's a concept most men never learn. Make her qualify herself to you. In normal dating dynamics, the man tries to prove his worth. He talks about his job, his accomplishments, his hobbies. He's essentially applying for the position of her boyfriend. Flip it. Make her apply for the position of being in your life. How do you do this? Through the questions you ask and the behaviors you reward. Instead of asking, what do you do for fun? Ask, what are you passionate about? What are you building in your life right now? This forces her to think about her value beyond physical appearance. It communicates that you care about substance. When she shows high-value behaviors, acknowledge them. When she shares something she's accomplished, when she demonstrates intelligence or ambition or kindness, recognize it. But when she shows low-value behaviors, don't accept them. If she's late without good reason, call it out. If she's on her phone during your conversation, address it. If she's rude or disrespectful, walk away. You're training her on what you will and won't accept. Nietzsche said one must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star, but he also said that chaos must be organized. Your standards are the organization of your chaos. They're the structure that separates you from desperate men. The most powerful thing you can do in any interaction is be willing to walk away. Not as a threat, not as a manipulation, but as a genuine boundary. If a woman doesn't meet your standards, you walk Hawaii. If she disrespects you, you walk Hawaii. If the relationship isn't adding value to your life, you'll walk away. This willingness to walk away is magnetic. Why? Because it demonstrates abundance. It shows you're not clinging to her because she's your only option. It shows you have self-respect. It shows you value yourself enough to not accept mistreatment. Most men can't do this. They're so scared of being alone, so desperate for female validation, that they'll tolerate anything. They'll accept being an option while she keeps her options open. They'll accept breadcrumbs of attention. They'll accept disrespect, flakiness, and manipulation, and they wonder why women don't respect them. The man who can walk away is the man women chase, because scarcity creates value. And if you're willing to walk away, you're scarce. I've walked away from beautiful women because they didn't meet my standards. I've ended relationships that many guys would kill to have. Not because I'm better than anyone, but because I know my worth and I refuse to settle. And you know what happened. Those same women often came back. They reached out weeks or months later. They wanted another chance, because walking away demonstrated something they rarely see in men. Standards. Self-respect. Abundance. Let's bring all 5 principles together. Strategic indifference means you have a mission bigger than getting female validation. You're focused on building something meaningful. Perceived scarcity means your time is valuable because you're actually doing important work. You're not always available because you're genuinely busy. Emotional contrast means you express different dimensions of your personality. You're not one-dimensional or predictable. Dominant frame control means you lead interactions. You set standards and boundaries. You create the reality. Others join. Standards and selectivity means you evaluate women the same way they evaluate you. You're willing to walk away from anyone who doesn't meet your requirements. When you combine all 5 principles, you become a man that women obsess over. Not because you're playing games, not because you're manipulating them, but because you're demonstrating high value through your actions and choices. You're showing that you're different from 99% of men out there. You're showing that you have options. You're showing that you respect yourself. And self-respect is the foundation of all attraction. Here's what I want you to understand before we end this video. These principles aren't about getting revenge on women. They're not about punishing them for rejecting you in the past. They're not about becoming a player or breaking hearts. They're about becoming the kind of man who doesn't need these strategies because he is genuinely high value. When you have a real mission, strategic indifference happens naturally. When you're building something meaningful, scarcity happens naturally. When you develop depth as a person, emotional contrast happens naturally. When you know what you want, frame control happens naturally. When you respect yourself, standards happen naturally. Nietzsche's final teaching was about becoming who you truly are, not imitating others, not following someone else's path, but discovering and expressing your authentic power. That's what this is really about. Becoming the most powerful version of yourself. Building a life so compelling that women naturally want to be part of it. The techniques I've shared today will work. They'll get you results. But they're just the surface level. The real transformation happens when you internalize these principles, when they become part of who you are, not just tactics you use. So go build your mission. Go develop your standards. Go become scarce by actually having important work to do. Go create emotional depth by living a full, multidimensional life. Go establish your frame by knowing what you stand for, and watch how everything changes. If this video helped you, subscribe to the channel. We're going deep into dark psychology, human nature, and the truths about power that most people are too scared to discuss. Drop a comment telling me which principle resonated most with you. And if you know a guy who needs to hear this, send it to him. The world needs more men who understand their value, more men who have standards, more men who refuse to settle. Be one of them. I'm Darkside_Manipulator. I'll see you in the next one.